officially year 11, soon officially year 12 of TMP. I have been balancing out my content with some shotgun reviews. I hope you like them. Now, I figure that if you showed up to this review, you might be a Benelli fan. Just maybe. Now, if you're new to the project, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video. Thanks for spending some time with me. I think you'll find it fun and informative. However, you will not find me being a fanboy for Benelli shotguns. So sorry. No, what you're going to get is an honest take on the type from me, the independent voice of Nutnfancy. That's what I'm known for. I didn't get this gun from Benelli. I didn't get it from a distributor. No, I loaned it. Actually, it's Wyatt's gun. So he loaned it to me, and I said, okay, cool, let's do a tabletop review. I haven't been super stoked to do a Benelli review in the 11 years that I've been doing TMP from channel creation date. No, have you seen me reviewed Benelli? In all that time, that's a long time that I wouldn't roll a Benelli on the table. That's kind of crazy if you think about it, right? It's such a well-known tactical 3-gun competition shotgun. Why wouldn't I not review it? Until it basically fell into my lap, as it did in this situation. Well, the answer is I'm not super stoked on the Benelli still. That's the true answer. There's that independent voice again. So don't expect me to, you know, parrot what the internet says and parrot what a lot of competitors say. In my own shooting, and I'm just going to knock the review off with this, the Benelli does not like lightweight loads. It is an inertia-driven system. My Super 90s that I owned back in the 1980s had the same mechanism. Hasn't changed that much that I know of. I own 2 of them. 2 Super 90s back in the 1980s. The first one I went out, and I wish I had a lot of footage to show you, but I don't think I have that much. I might have a little bit in the archives. I really don't know. You may have to just watch me shoot recently the M2 or something. But I found this out like in 1988 with my Super 90. I mean, I would shoot high base pheasant loads and buckshot, and it ran very well with that, of course. Then, to save money, I was a poor college student back then, I'd throw in some light field loads, 6.5, number 7 shot, and lo and behold, it would choke constantly. Yes, I'm holding the shotgun correctly. Someone always rolls in and goes, well, you really need to hold that Benelli really tight. Well, no kidding. I knew that back in 1988. I do. Still jammed. And I did a lot of research back then. I'm talking back in the 1980s. I actually called Benelli and I say, hey, what gives? You say in your advertisements that this will run light field loads, and it does not. And they gave me some song and dance about, well, it should, you know, you need this, and, you know, you need the dram equivalent of such and such.
Empty it out.
I spent a lot of time on it, actually. Cleaned the gun, experimented with lubes, experimenting, you know, store it in the safe, muzzle down, no change. I sold the gun.
Finish it out.
Couple years went by. Now we're in the early 90s, and I'm going, man, I wonder if I just had a bad Benelli. So guess what? I went out, I believed the hype again, and I went out and bought another Super 90. And the same thing happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Let me throw this in here. With high base loads, usually your Benellis will run great. Okay, did you hear me? I'm talking with buckshot, tactical, no kidding, full power tactical loads, or even reduced recoil federal stuff, they'll run pretty good. But for training back then, and sometimes even now, I do like the option of running a field load. You know, I call them like Walmart promotional loads, the kind you buy 5 boxes of. They're a clay load, basically. My second Super 90 had problems with it. And then I was like, oh, well, here we go again. I'm going to sell this gun, lose money, and I did just that. And so that is my history with Benelli. And so when I started TMP, I wasn't super stoked to do a review. Here we are, year 11, I'm doing one on the M2. don't think I hate the gun. I don't. I just think with competitive options like the JM Mossberg 930 that I reviewed recently, the FNSLP, for me and the way I shoot and the loads I shoot, I'd rather run those guns. There, I said it. Take into account that this is a very expensive gun. It MSRP is around $1,500. The Benelli M2 series, and there's different variations. There's pistol gripped variations. That's model number 11041, the pistol grip version. I know 3-gunners love it. I mean, you're not going to find that much negative on the Benelli series, the M2 series. People love it. One reason is it is a durable shotgun. It is well put together. They use extremely high-grade materials. But then again, so do a lot of other shotguns. The Mossbergs do. Some of the Remingtons do. A lot of the Turkish shotguns do. And I'm speaking from personal experience, having shot a lot of Turkish shotguns, like the Versans, which is basically a licensed Beretta. It has the same level of quality as a Benelli. By the way, I have one, a Versan. It's awesome. That gun, by the way, is a combination, I believe, between gas and inertia. I don't think it's pure inertia. I might be wrong on that, but it cycles field loads all day long. And 2 3/4 inch pheasant, 2 3/4 inch buck, 3-inch buck. All the auto shotguns that I own have to do that. That's just me. But it has a very good reputation. I do want to represent that with shotgunning competitors and whatever competition you want to run. Usually it's 3-gun. And the Benelli is loved in those circles, and you don't hear too much bad of it. So let's fast forward to now. I get this M2, and I'm kind of regrouping mentally, and I go, okay, let's get out there and shoot a modern interpretation of a Benelli. It's not the Super 90 anymore. They're going to call it the M2. Cool. I go out and start shooting it with the crew, and I got to be honest, it did run pretty good. I mean, it was almost all the way there, and then lo and behold, it would just choke. And it wasn't just with field loads. It was with full power buck, and I think I have video of that. I'm opening up the chamber, showing the loads recycling. I was a little surprised. I mean, I could kind of understand it with my history with the gun, with field. I was like, okay, inertia driven, lightweight field. It's just not quite enough to shuck it. But then we had a high base round in there and it choked. I was like, oh crap, here we go. I was really disappointed because I wanted it to run 100% so I can come to the tabletop and, you know, just say, hey, you know, I would still tell you my history in the 80s, but I'd say, hey, they've changed it. This thing's running great. It's expensive, recommended. Doesn't mean I hate the gun. I have every confidence that I could dink around, well, not every confidence, but some confidence I could dink around with this M2 and get it running. Take it apart, maybe replace a spring or two, do some internet research and find out what other guys' experience is. But here's the deal. $1,500 MSRP. When you have a Mossberg 930 that ran without a hitch with us. Light loads, heavy loads, medium loads, and it's much less expensive. The Mossberg 930, especially the Jerry Mikulik version, which I love. And it's almost competition ready. Let's go into philosophy of use, shall we? I mean, a lot of dudes will buy M2. They will put it in 3-gun. But they're paying for a very expensive shotgun. I think the word on the street and amongst the forums of 3-guns, and I don't know, I don't go and visit those forums, but I suspect it has a very good reputation for being durable. So it's not going to break down and they're not going to have to replace parts on it. But what I found with knowing people that do 3-guns with Benelli M2s is they put a lot of mods in it. It's not an out-of-the-box competitor. You know, they're putting extended bolt knob on it. They are widening the loading area. They're polishing this area, widening it. They're going to change the cartridge lifter out. They're going to change the stock. They're going to stipple the stock. They're going to put on extended mag tubes. Essentially, they're going to put a lot of money and time into the gun. And I totally get it. I don't criticize that at all. I think it's awesome. I mean, every second counts. Every microsecond counts in 3-gun. I get it. It's a game they're playing and they're trying to get a competitive advantage. But my point is, it's an expensive gun. It should come that way. That's my point. So if I'm spending whatever, $1,200 street, I'm just guessing, I don't know what it really is, on a Benelli M2, dude, have it out of the box ready nowadays. I mean, and there are different variations of this gun which are competitively focused, but they're even more expensive. I think they're like MSRP above $2,000. A Benelli M2 or maybe one of their other varieties. That's my point. You know, it's cool to put on that other stuff, but it's time and it's money. I don't know if a 930, for instance, a JM version, if that is like being ran in 3-gun circles without a ton of modifications, but I kind of suspect it is. That it out of the box, the Mossberg 930, again, what, about half the price, less than half the price of this gun, is being ran effectively in 3-gun. Is it as durable over a span of 10 years of competition? I don't know. I don't know. There might be some issues. But if we talk philosophy of use, the Benelli is often touted as the competitive gun to get. Now, like I said, and I've represented it multiple times, it does have a good reputation, and you won't hear a lot of complaints. Guys will say, well, I don't know what Nutnfancy's problem is, because mine runs great. Welcome to my life in the desert, dude. I don't know what it is either. It's not the way I'm shooting the gun. I freaking lean into it and go, and it was multiple people. Oh my gosh.
Notice that.
How about defensive use? Yeah, I mean, totally. I love auto guns. I've talked about it a lot. I do have a Mossberg Shockwave sitting at the top just because it fits in frame. More than anything. I'm getting ready to return it to Gunnies, a great American gun store in Inset. Go support them, please. Say thank you for supporting the Nutnfancy Project gun show. It's cool. This is really a completely different philosophy, but these two guns, they really are. I reviewed this. I'm not sure when I'll post a review. It depends how fast and when you guys watch the videos, how much you watch the videos. But in this review, I said special purpose application. Yeah, it's short overall length, but it's not ideal. I'd much rather have a shoulder stocked shotgun, specifically an auto shotgun. I love auto shotguns. I'm still healing from my wrist sprain and my finger sprains. My fingers are still sprained pretty badly from that fall in the desert. Thanks for asking. And I made the note in that video running the Remington 887. I was like, hey, if you injure your hand, you get your hand shot. This is the gun I'd be shooting, not a pump shotgun.
All right, buddy.
So philosophy of use is a very fast shooting way to dominate the battlefield, really, at least at short range. Any good auto shotgun would fall into that category. Granted, it's firepower limited compared to like a Sega, but it's still an auto fast shooting shotgun. So defensive use, home defense, you bet, all day long. A lot of guys will talk, and I've spent some airtime on it before, that, hey, a pump shotgun is the way to go when I have a shotgun at the house for the old proverbial rack of the slide. So people know that you're serious. I myself keep my shotguns loaded. I'm not going to rack the slide. They're ready to go. And a Winchester 1300 is one of the home defense firearms I have. It is a pump shotgun. So right now, currently, I'm not running an auto shotgun. But GTW option, absolutely. Recreational, certainly. I'm not sure people go out and spend $1,000 plus on a recreational shotgun. Well, I shouldn't say it. There are guys that do that. They spend a lot of money on their guns, and they never shoot them. They just kind of collect them. So collectible, sure. So I'm kind of jumping ahead on this 3-part review. I mean, features, how did it shoot, would I buy it? We're kind of talking about, and had to lead off with how it shot. Like I said, I'm just going to throw a number out. Probably it was 98% reliable. 98%. So it wasn't like horrible. It wasn't like choking every shot. You'll see the video. It was pretty good. But there were some issues, and it was a little bit surprising. A little bit surprising. Yeah, as far as how does the, what do they call that system? The Comfort Tech 48% less felt recoil, says Benelli. How does that work? You know, it's a long time since, I mean, I shot some Benelli since the 1980s, but I was really hot and heavy in it in the late 80s all the way up to the early 90s, like I was saying. It felt about the same. I can't really remember it being much different.
So we had one
We did shoot full power buckshot. Couple field loads just for testing to see if it'd work, and then we're either shooting pheasant loads. That's high base round, super power, well not super, but adequately powerful, and then buckshot of various descriptions, couple slug loads too. So there you go. It was soft though. I mean, I like gas guns. Well, this isn't a gas gun. This is inertia driven. I like auto shotguns usually, especially gas guns, for their softer felt recoil, fast follow-up shots. When I reviewed the FN SLP, another great competitive option against this gun, about the same value level, I talked about that there. Yeah. Let's talk about features. This is the comb adjustable stock, so you can put a different comb in here. You can shim here to adjust your length of pull, so you can actually raise your cheek, move the stock back, maybe change the angle slightly. There are some rubber inserts in this particular version of the M2 stock. This is a standard stock version. Again, they do have pistol grip versions. And they got that huge recoil pad, which is actually pretty good. It was very effective. It's not grippy on the side. I wouldn't have to tape this one. The traction right here is marginal. I would do something with it. And again, we get into what some 3-gun guys do, and they'll you know, put stippling on this back end here. I totally get it. That takes us to the trigger. I didn't pull this on the scale yet. We're going to do it right now. It didn't seem to me to be obnoxious at all. It seemed to be pretty good, but heck, I'm just going to guess 7 pounds. A 7-pound pull right now. Well, that's pretty close. 6 pounds, 8 ounces. Not bad. Kind of a triangular, not triangular, but well, you see the shape of the safety, rear mounted. And then we get to the bolt lock lever, and that's this thing right here. And I actually like the European shotguns for this. Here's the bolt lock lever here in the forward part of the trigger guard. It's pretty cool because you can do things with this battery of arms that you can't do with an American shotgun. For instance, I can unload the chamber, just cycle this out. If I had a shot shell in there, it'd fly out, and I would not strip a cartridge off the tube unless I press this. This is a 3-purpose. It'll drop the shell so like this is open. This is open like this, so if I pushed it here, it would drop a shell, if I'm remembering right. I mean, I shoot a lot of shotguns, and then I'll push the bolt release, and then it strips it off and loads it. So that's kind of cool. So you can keep the tube loaded and still unload the chamber is what I'm trying to say. This also locks the bolt, and it shows a cocked hammer on the Benelli. So right now we're in a cocked position, uncocked. And then you have the bolt knob. Again, this is highly modified by a lot of folks. It's kind of on the small side with what's coming out nowadays. Again, referring you to that Mossberg 930 competition version. It is a modular trigger assembly, single pin, droppable. That's good for maintenance and modification. So when guys are opening up the loading port, beveling it, polishing it, you know, it's an easy proposition to get the trigger out. This version has ghost sights on it. They are excellent. I love the sights on here. Windage and elevation adjustable. No tritium in this particular version of the M2. Some Benellis do have it. I think they're relatively low profile as far as ghost sights go. Now, since we're here, you may have noticed this barrel band has slipped forward. I mentioned in the Remington 887 in field review that this is usually my experience with all barrel bands, even when I super tighten them down. Now, I don't think Wyatt put any Loctite on here, but when I'm shooting buckshot, I almost see single bands, and I'm talking single, so there's only one band going across. They almost always skip forward. And this is going back to my experience in the 1980s. They're totally obnoxious. I mean, I would crank it down on my other Benellis. I would Loctite it, and it would still slide forward, especially if I put a tactical light on it. So this is the old style. You can put some double clampers on there that has more gripping power. I think it will alleviate it. There are a lot of aftermarket solutions to that, but I left it the way it was just to show you. It was, I think, right about here when I started shooting, but lo and behold, it shot. And I didn't tighten it up beforehand either. It just kind of shot it out of box. Benelli does make a big deal about the quality of their barrels. They are cold hammer forged and cryogenically treated. And there's a whole thing on their webpage talking about how this will result in 13% more dense patterns in addition to their cryogenically treated choke tubes. I'm kind of chuckling because I've never really thought of cryo treatment as being super necessary for a shotgun. But, I mean, if that's really true, 13% tighter patterns, okay, cool. I mean, especially if it's going into a competition philosophy of use. Like I said, every little competitive advantage that you can gain is worth it. Now, it comes with, I think, an IC, a modified, and a full choke. I think we shot it with the modified on it. And this is an 18-inch barrel, 7+1 configuration. The Benelli M2 series does market entry guns with a 14-inch barrel. They're 5+1 in their firepower. They'll be model numbers 110, 37, 38, and 39, depending on which one you go. I did see a Benelli M2 3-gun variation. That was at another retailer, and it was a longer barrel. It had a ventilator rib on it. It was not really the combat tactical configuration that this one is in right here. And if I'm in 3-gun, I would want a ventilated rib. I love ventilated ribs just for aiming like that. Pretty much. 3-lug rotary bolt. Pretty much what we see in the, I believe, the Winchester 1300. I mean, not exactly the bolt, but I'm saying the design. And we got matte chrome finish in there. I mean, the materials in the gun are excellent. They really are. And then on the top of the receiver, it's drilled and tapped for a Weaver 93-A scope base. Pretty sick. I did find in shooting the gun with gloves, you may see this, that we were getting pinched by the cartridge lifter. And 3-gun guys, like I said, they'll do a modification on that. They are doing probably like an AccuGlide lifter. That's by Taran Tactical. It's solid and it's slightly tilted. And in addition to opening up this area right here, which honestly I've never done to a combat shotgun, but it would be kind of cool. They'll put that shell lifter on there. And a bunch of other stuff too, like the extended mag tubes, a Nordic 12-shot. And then maybe a match saver right here. That's just another round, holds another round right here. This is just 3-gun stuff I'm talking about. And a tactical bolt release that will go right here. I've seen that before on the Benellis. I think that's by Redneck Tactical. And probably a bunch of other stuff I'm forgetting, like the quad twin speed loaders. Now the forend on this, I'm not super digging compared to my Benelli Super 90. That was a more traditional, maybe it's slightly more bulbous forend, but I liked it better. This reminds me of a Nova forend, a Benelli Nova, which is tapered towards the front. I'm not super digging it. I think the traction on it for an expensive shotgun is subpar. I mean, you compare the traction against an FN SLP, this is not good. It's bad. Now, I don't know what year this particular M2 was produced, and has it been improved? I looked on the website tonight, spent some time there actually, and it looks exactly the same. So I'm not super impressed with that. So a theme I want you to pull out is not that the gun is that bad, but remember the value. Remember the price you're spending on this gun. And for that, the forend should be perfect. The reliability should be perfect. You should have a double clamp up here with a pick rail on it so I can attach a laser or light. That should be good to go. For the price, I should probably have a tritium front sight on it. Ghost rings are fine. The stock I can live with. I'm not totally enamored with the stock. I talked about there's no traction back here. So it just seems like an overly hyped, dated shotgun for the money. Would I buy it as is? No way. No way, dude. Wouldn't do it. But I've had such good experience with my Benelli. Dude, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not. But at the same time, I'm sharing you my experience dating all the way back to the 1980s. It's just what it is. There are so many great shotgun options. Again, there's some Turkish shotguns under various brandings. I'm not even going to go into them. That I brought to the table. They're excellent. I mentioned a couple. earlier, like the Versan. I don't know if that's marketing here in the United States anymore. Mossberg, Remington 1187. I don't know. It really depends on what you want to do with your gun, too. If you're going to 3-gun it, for me, today, I would go for value. I would buy a gun that is built up as much as I possibly can get it built up for 3-gun. So I don't have to go out and waste all the time and money doing the stuff myself. I want an open loading gate already. I want an oversized bolt knob. I want a match trigger on it, which, by the way, the Jerry Miculek Mossberg 930 has. Talked about it in that tabletop. And I'm happy. I want a stock I don't have to replace. I want it turnkey. Which raises an interesting point. Do you need all those competitive modifications on a combat auto loading shotgun? I would say you don't. Let's just keep it real. I would say you don't. Remember, in competition, you are trying to gain seconds. You are shooting stages. You know the stage you're going to shoot. You're gaming accordingly. You're planning a stage. I don't know. I say loading is important, but it's not going to win the battle for you like it would in a competition. So if you screw up your load or the sequence of your shots in a 3-gun match, you're done. You're probably not even going to place high. So I say no. That's never been the case. I've been very consistent on that philosophy. I don't think you need those competition mods for first cool in a combat shotgun. It'll work just fine. And chances are, if you're a police officer, the fight's going to be over in 5 rounds, probably less. If you're on some big extended firefight, you got other things to worry about besides, doing the perfect reload and saving 0.77 seconds. Says me. And a lot of those reloading devices for competition, I've said this before in other shotgun reviews, are designed to be readily accessible, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're good for combat. I mean, you have shell carriers sticking out from your belt. You have shells that are clipped in with plastic. You try doing that stuff in Fallujah. See how that works. Those shot shells will be popping out, breaking. It's good for the field of competition. It's excellent for that, and that's what it's designed for. I'm making this point because I think some guys get confused and they go, oh, I need to do all those things to a combat shotgun. I don't think you do for first cool. Now, for second cool, if you just like, hey, I want to open up my loading gate, I think it would be funner to shoot the gun recreationally that way. Or if you do go into competition, I say double thumbs up. Double thumbs up. I just threw that in. Interesting philosophy. The whole project is founded upon that. One of the many things that sets my reviews apart from everybody else's. This, by the way, is a desert dust encrusted SIG P227 from Jacob City. Mining dust all over it. Not a Cerakote job. SOG Northwest Ranger. The watch for the review, wrist check, is the Hugo Boss modern interpretation of a pilot watch with highly visible day date. Coin edge bezel on it. Super sick. This is in parchment brown. Limited edition. I think they quit making this version. And then I have a Smale Mudmaster homage watch here for 25 bucks in urban camo. Would I buy the M2? Answered that already. No, I wouldn't. What if it was 600 bucks, Nutton? Would you then? Nope. Still wouldn't. Still wouldn't. I'm actually of the opinion that I think the gas systems now, and I think the FNSLP is a perfect representation of this, although you do have to, in that gun, change out a piston, have become so advanced, I think they're reliable with all types of loads. I think the 1187 is that way. Definitely the 930 was that way. We didn't change anything with the 930. Ran a variety of loads, 100%.
7 more on this.
I talked about some of the cool modifications guys are doing their Benellis. It can be a hobby, but any gun can be a hobby, just modding it out, making it the way you want to. I think it's a good gun. I'm not going to trash it on my likability scale. I ain't. It's going to actually be pretty fair. It's not going to be maxed out. If you run it with high base only, it's well lubricated. You test it with the load that you're selecting, then I think you might be happy with your Benelli M2. But I'm just sharing my experience. And again, it spans since the 1980s. Nutnfancy, thanks for watching. See ya.